Look at your phone, refresh your banking app. Now, imagine that screen goes blank, stays blank, and every transaction record on Earth evaporates. You are now living in the most dangerous 24 hours in human history. You are holding your phone, you check your balance, you expect to see your rent money, your savings, or even just enough for lunch, but the app is spinning. It never loads. You walk outside, you go to a grocery store to buy a loaf of bread. The clerk stares at you. They don't want your card, they don't want your cash, they don't even know what to charge you because the concept of price has just been deleted from the human brain. This is not a bank glitch. This is the total permanent erasure of every piece of currency on the planet. Let's start with the first hour. Chaos is quiet at first. The internet is flooded with error messages. Millions of people are hitting refresh, convinced their bank is just having a bad day. Then, the realization ripples through the population. The digital ledger is gone. The physical cash in your wallet is now just paper, worthless, except maybe as kindling for a fire. By the 6-hour mark, the panic hits the supply chain. Delivery trucks are currently on the road carrying food, fuel, and medicine. Those drivers work for paychecks. When they realize their paychecks no longer exist, the trucks stop. They pull over to the side of the highway and turn off their engines. Verify, there are roughly 3.5 million truck drivers in the United States alone. These drivers have families. They aren't going to spend their remaining fuel to deliver cereal to a store if they cannot buy their own food when they get home. At the 12-hour mark, the stores close. Without a way to process payments, inventory becomes a liability. Shop owners cannot restock because the wholesalers are also paralyzed. This is where we hit the first massive problem, the breakdown of trust. You might think you can just barter. You offer your watch for a gallon of milk. But why would the shopkeeper want your watch? In a world where money has vanished, a watch is just a piece of metal. It has no utility. In the first 24 hours, the only things that have value are food, water, fuel, and shelter. Anything that cannot keep you alive for another day is essentially trash. Let's move to the 3-day mark. This is when the silence starts. The power grid relies on automated markets. Power plants burn coal or natural gas, but they operate within a complex web of billing and credit. That system is now invisible. Without the ability to track who owes whom, parts don't get ordered and maintenance crews stop showing up. Verify, roughly 60% of the energy grid in developed nations is tied to private automated market transactions. As the lights flicker and die, the reality sets in. Modern civilization is a machine that runs on the friction of exchange. Without the lubricant of money, the machine seizes up. Now let's look at the second order consequence that nobody talks about, the professional hierarchy reversal. Think about your life today. Who is the most important person in your world? Is it the investment banker, the software engineer, the marketing executive? In our current society, these people hold immense power. But in a post-money world, their skills are largely useless. A surgeon, a farmer, a plumber, and a mechanic suddenly become the new kings of the earth. These people have tangible survival-based skills. They can grow food, stop an infection, or fix a water pump. The person who spent their life trading stocks is now standing in a field wondering why they can't eat their spreadsheets. This is the moment where the social order completely flips. The people who were essential are suddenly the ones who have to beg for help from the people we used to call blue-collar workers. By the end of the first week, we move into the phase of local survivalism. You are no longer living in a global civilization. You are living in your neighborhood. You probably don't know your neighbors, but you are about to learn their names very quickly. Because you cannot rely on the supermarket, you have to rely on the collective resources of your street. Here is the twist that makes this even worse than you imagine. Money didn't just disappear, the records of who owns what disappeared. There is no proof that you own your house. There is no deed. There is no title. There is no record that you have the right to be in that building. So, when the food runs out, the concept of private property becomes extremely difficult to enforce. If someone shows up at your door and says they are moving in and you don't have a currency to pay the police to evict them and the police aren't getting paid anyway, what happens? Society regresses to a system of localized defense. You have to physically protect your territory or you lose it. The entire concept of the rule of law is tied to a professional class of enforcers who are paid to maintain order. Once the payroll stops, the enforcers go home to protect their own families. The state, in its current form, dissolves. Wait, is there any way back? Humans are obsessed with accounting. Even in the chaos, someone will start writing things down. We would likely see the rise of commodity money almost instantly. People would start using cigarettes, gasoline, or canned goods as a stand-in for currency. We would recreate the gold standard, or maybe the gasoline standard, within weeks. But it would be local. It would be isolated, because you cannot use a gallon of gasoline to pay for an airplane flight or a complex medical procedure. The biggest loss isn't just the money, it's the complexity. We have spent thousands of years building a world where a person in Japan can sell a component to a person in Germany who builds a car for a person in the United States. That chain requires absolute trust in a financial system. Without it, we lose the ability to maintain complex technology. We wouldn't just lose our wealth, we would lose the ability to make microchips, to manufacture medicine, and to maintain satellites. We would be pushed back in time, not to the Stone Age, but certainly back to the late 19th century. So look at your phone one last time. You see numbers on a screen. You see your net worth. It feels solid. It feels real, but it is a fragile collective dream. The moment we stop believing in it, it evaporates. And the civilization we've spent centuries building, it's built on top of that dream. If you had to trade your current job for a trade that would actually matter in a world without money, what would you learn to do today? Would you learn to farm? Would you learn to repair an engine? Or would you try to build a fence? Leave a comment and let's see who is actually prepared for the collapse.